I want to talk about study schedules for a second. If you don't know me, I'm Yash, and I go to Oxford Uni and I study computer science over there. And what I'm trying to do is maximize my grades whilst also maximizing the rest of my life. So if that's something you're interested in, keep watching. When people talk about study timetables and study schedules, most of the time it really ends up infuriating me because most people make studying either something completely irrelevant or they make it their entire life and they make it their identity of like, look at me, I study 6 hours a day. Look at me, I study 10 hours a day. And in the vast majority of cases, most people aren't even doing that much work anyway. They're saying that they do, but in reality, most of that time is actually spent scrolling reels on their phone or something, whilst they convince themselves that, no, this is study time. So that's one case. But then another case is that they might actually genuinely be working for that long. They might genuinely be working for 6 hours, 7 hours a day. And when people do that, it really makes me feel, one, angry, but also sad. It makes me feel angry because it makes me realize what the world has come to. It makes me realize what the educational system has come to. The educational system was never meant to take away from your life. It was never supposed to be about turning you into a robot. That's not what the education system should have been for. But that's what it's become. And I can't remember where I got this quote from, but some famous psychologist, some scientist, or a philosopher, some highly learned person, right, said this thing about school. And he said, if aliens came on Earth and they saw the school system, the thing that they would probably attribute it to or attribute its purpose to is a factory to make more academic professors, a factory to produce university professors. That's the best sort of description of what school makes as a person. So if you go into the school system and you come out, you're most likely to be good at being a university professor. That is the way that school is designed. And so it really is a shame that people spend 12 hours a day studying in order to get good grades. And I actually used to be like that too. I used to study for ages. I used to study until my brain hurts. And then I would take a break and then I would study more. And then I'd take a little break and then I'd study more. And then I just keep on studying until my head hit the desk and I fell asleep. Sometimes I wouldn't even fall asleep in my bed. I would fall asleep at my desk. That's how much this culture of study more, hustle more, grind, got crammed into me from a young age, not only from school, but also from, the people around you, the students who lie about how much they work, the media, news, YouTube, social media, right? It's really bad for you. And it creates this perception of I'm not enough, I'm never enough. And the more I study, the closer I get to being enough. But you never actually end up being enough. And so that's the issue which I have with study culture. And what can be done about this? Well, I think that studying, it's not supposed to be the center of your life, to be honest. And that might go against all other, advice from study YouTubers that you might hear. But I think it's the truth. I think studying should not be the center of your life. And if studying is the center of your life, then that's a big indicator, a big red flag that there's other problems going on in your life that you need to fix. Okay? Because realistically, you can actually get everything that you need to get done in order to achieve good grades in 2 or 3 hours a day. And you might not believe me when I first say that, but I promise you that is the truth. That is the truth. Because exams can be only asking you a limited kind of question. If you don't believe me, just go on any past papers, go on like 3 years of past papers for whatever paper you're trying to study for. Look at all the questions in them and tell me that there's not commonalities between the papers. Try and tell me that every question is completely different and there's zero overlap. Right? So exams themselves are actually not that hard to prepare for. You can learn the content in 2 or 3 hours a day for a month. And then you can spend the next month for 2 or 3 hours every day reviewing that, and you will do almost perfectly on an exam. There is no way that that will happen. So I do think that the culture that has been instilled in us of studying for that long is really bad. And the crazy part is I think you can actually get better grades by studying less. Because that time that you spend studying, if you spend that on actually improving your life in general and improving your brain chemistry and things like that, you can actually outperform the people who just study. So the advice, just study, bro, just revise for as long as you can, is really bad advice, right? That is really not how it works. Because there are certain states in which you learn much, much more, and your brain is in a much more resourceful state of mind compared to other times. And learning to create and harness those opportunities is what makes you into a good student, a truly good student, right? Because to be honest, anyone can memorize things if they spend 10 hours a day doing it, right? That's really not that hard. That's not skillful. But what's skillful is studying less, managing a really good life with a good social life, good fitness, good health, and then good relationships with, your partner, your family, things like that. Also, a good relationship with yourself and being disciplined, having goals that you're striving towards. These kinds of things all mixed in with studying and getting good grades. That's what's actually impressive. That's when you see the guy in the corner who's, you look at him and he's like jacked, and you wonder, how is he so jacked? He must be stupid. He must not really be that intelligent. He probably doesn't put in that much work in school. And then you see his grades and they're actually really good. And then he's also got a really good social life. And then he's also, got a girlfriend, and he's also got this business in which he's doing, and he also reads books, and he also has hobbies. And then you wonder, how is that person, doing everything? How can he do everything while I'm stuck here 10 hours a day studying over and over and over again, and I get worse grades than him? How is that possible? Right? So if you want to become that person that other people get jealous of, then you need to understand that your need to study more and more comes from a place of scarcity. And it comes from a place of you not being enough, right? You're trying to fill an emotional void with actions. That's the issue. So you need to fill that emotional void first. You need to realize that your sense of self-worth is not tied to how long you study. Then you'll stop, reaching for more of that self-worth by trying to study for more hours, and you'll actually focus on what's really effective, right? Doing past paper questions, rewriting the content or re-understanding the content so that you know for sure that you can understand it in your own words and your own phrases and in your own mannerisms. Those are literally the two things that you need to do in order to succeed academically, and you know it. You've known it for a while. The issue is emotional. The issue is not practical. You know what you need to do. The reason you're not doing it is because you've got this emotional void which gets filled by doing it. So that's the reason which you can't stop studying. You're addicted to studying because it fills this emotional void. That's how any addiction works. And any addiction is bad for you, even if it's studying. I promise you. I promise you it's unhealthy to be addicted to anything. And if you want really concrete, actionable, step-by-step advice and also raw accountability to ensure that you have the highest chances ever of doing this, then you can check the link in the description where I have built a private community of people who are all striving to do the same thing. We are all students, and we're trying to strive to maximize how much we can get done, despite still continuing to live a really good, functional, positive, purposeful life, where we can genuinely enjoy ourselves, we can genuinely have a good social circle, we can genuinely have a good mindset, we can genuinely enjoy the fruits of having good health, and we have a good relationship with ourselves. And all of those things come together to make your life good. And the best part is, when you actually work on these things, when you work on your mindset, when you work on your health, when you work on your social circle, and then when you work on your relationship with yourself, when you do these things, it makes you into a much sharper blade, right? So you can cut the same tree down in 2 or 3 swings of an axe, rather than swinging 20 times, because your axe is much sharper. Some guy said that if you had 6 hours to cut down a tree, you'd spend the first 5 sharpening the axe. And this is what we're doing here. So once again, if you want to sharpen your axe, then check the top link in the description. It's got full detailed courses, and it's got full accountability system to ensure that you work on your goals. And that is my opinion about study schedules. I think you genuinely don't need to study that long, and you're better off making yourself a more functional person and a human being overall. And that'll put you in better stead over the long term. Hope it helped.